Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of AskDproS Business, where we bring business owners, entrepreneurs on the show. They come on the show to share their journey and their story. And on this particular episode, I've got Natalia Nicholson here. She's here to share her journey and her story. She's got an amazing story. Spoke to her prior to this interview. She's got an amazing story, doing a wonderful work for women, and men as well. So Natalia, on this show, we always start from the beginning, which means, telling us how the journey started for you. For you, how did it all begin?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure being here today. And my journey started in 2003, so some time ago, around the dot-com boom industry. And back then, it's very different to how it was now. There was no Canva, there was no cloud-based systems. Technology as we see it today wasn't like that. You had to get manpower to be able to build up an e-commerce website. So I thought I was going to be the next multicultural Amazon. So my business model was to sell an array of books, A to Z, to teach the Black community where they came from, because I struggled from a really young age that our history was not readily available. It felt like we didn't exist before slavery, literally, and it just didn't make any sense to me. And every time I kept asking questions, I just wouldn't get answers. I was just pointed towards Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. I grew up in urban inner city London. My parents are from the Windrush generation, so from the Caribbean. I'm second generation, where you feel like you don't belong in the country you live in, and you don't belong in the country that your parents come from. And then to add to that, you're a part of the transatlantic slave trade, where you don't actually really know where you're from. So I was very curious. And that curiosity is what led to my first business model of, once I started to understand the history of our people and who I am, I wanted to share that knowledge. I felt like if you knew where you was coming from, and if you could understood all the lengths that have been gone through to suppress us as a race, that would make you stronger. So my business model was very, very much based on being able to give back to the community, to build them up, give them more knowledge, to make them more powerful. But I was very young and I got too big for my boots. So having graduated in marketing, working for organizations like Capital Radio, Daily Mail, I thought I knew it all. And at that age, you often do. So that business led to really extreme failure. That business led to me going bankrupt, to literally turning up to the courts to file bankruptcy and being told, you have to have £500, but hang on, I've got no money. So at that time, I had a property portfolio. I lost the house that I lived in. I owed friends and family money. It was a really humiliating experience, one of my darkest moments. However, it made me who I am today. From there, I just couldn't go and work for someone. So I decided to start a cleaning business. I thought I'm really good at speaking to people. I've got good admin skills. So I was literally picking up the phone, in a really posh voice, and then turning up to clean people's houses. I started that business on £600 and got it to a turnover of £500,000.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, until I sold it, because I just couldn't maintain being a mum and running national contracts. By that time, I had national contracts with the retailers. So from there, I decided that I was going to get into coaching. Thought, I've got children, I've been through a lot, I've got a lot that I can give back in terms of my experiences. There was a lot of coaches at that time as well that never run their own business, but they were coaching in business mentoring. And it just seemed crazy to me that you can mentor or coach around something that you've never done. It's like being an antenatal teacher and you've never had a child, or being a midwife and you've never given childbirth. Yeah. It's a bit of a bizarre thing to do. For me, that didn't last that long because I wasn't fulfilled. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I decided to design my own candle range, went to China, and then I started my own e-commerce business selling on Amazon and Shopify. So, went through the whole product development, importing, setting that business up, thought I'd just set a website up, put the products on Amazon, and boom. Well, it didn't work like that. So that's what really got me into digital marketing and understanding how to sell online. And then I started getting invited into speaking engagements. From there, I started doing consulting and coaching for large corporations like Google, BT, non-profits, local boroughs. And then I just didn't feel fulfilled. I just wanted to be helping people in my community. So I feel like I went full circle in terms of my why, from starting the multicultural business and wanting to help my community, to then starting a community where I again wanted to help people like me, but decided that I was going to help underrepresented women, because we're just such powerful creatures and we're just never given the props that we deserve.
Natalia, what What a wonderful story, man. Wonderful story, having all that setback, and, for one, you think that, oh, when you have this kind of setback, like the bankruptcy and all that, the first thing you do is to look for a job, you know, number one, human instinct to be like, okay, what's the next thing? What do I do for cash? Is to look for a job. But for you, you never went through that route, But I was just wondering what was going through your mind, all that happening, and not thinking about getting a job, but you just want to start another business.
To be fair, I did go and work for about 3 months. Remember, I've got family pressures now. I owe people money. Okay. People telling me you can't keep doing this. You can't, live your life like it's a dream. You've got to go and work. We are taught instinctively from really the minute we come out the womb, most of us, that you need to get a good education and you need to get a job. So having that drummed into me, I did try and go back to work. But this is the thing. When you're an entrepreneur, it runs through your veins. It's just like if you can sing or you can dance or you can draw. So guess what? When I went back to work, I just thought one day, F this, this is not me. And I'm going to follow my dreams. And it's funny, from that moment, every year I read Napoleon Hill, Think Rich, Grow Rich. And one of the first things you have to have in you to be able to succeed at your dreams is desire. And I just decided when I would try to go back to work, I'm not letting this beat me. I want to be a successful businesswoman. And I just felt, what can I do? And I also felt like I actually also calculated how long it would take me to pay everybody back if I stayed in a 9-to-5 job. And that also didn't seem appealing to me either.
Wow.
So I took the risk.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich is a great book, read that as well. So much motivation there, desire as well, to start. But for you, a few minutes ago, you were talking about, you have to go around the circle, before you now found out that, you need to go certain part, but for me, I think it's all about starting, because if you don't start, you never know the next thing.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think in this world, we wait for perfection too much. We're always wanting to prepare. And, there's many people that go from working and they want a side hustle and they want to know, how can I transition from my job to a profitable business that pays me the same amount as my job? And it's a problem. We've got this problem of wanting this perfect world. And you're right. I'm a firm believer in practice makes permanent. And if you're going to figure out a strategy without trying and testing anything, forget it. You are only ever going to succeed in business by making mistakes. You are going to have to fail your way to success. So if you cannot deal with successes and failures, this journey just probably isn't for you, if you want me to honestly. That might sound really harsh.
Yeah. And going back to starting again, like for me as well, I'll use myself as an example, but I started this podcast out of nothing. Like, I just had to start, right now I have a new podcast now, which I believe that's where I'm going, because this is tailored to my career, my job, because I've got 9-to-5 as well, so this is centered around my job, what I do. So now I'm looking at it like, this is where I want to be. But if I didn't make that first step, that first move, I won't get to where I am today. I won't be having all them reviews and so, okay, so you're doing an amazing job. I like your show. I like I like what you're doing. So it's just all about starting, man. It's all about starting.
Yeah, you have to start. And also everybody has to remember, little by little, you build your power. I keep telling my children, you don't want to do something and you're perfect at it. You have to work at it. Sometimes when we read all these success stories on the internet, on social media, well, I 10x my business in 3 months, or I'm 21 and I'm a stockbroker living in a penthouse. You need to go and do the research behind this. The biggest stockbrokers in the world, the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, these people went through adversity and they had to learn. And you're right, you just have to start. You've got to start the journey, because practice does make permanent. Actually, little by little, you do build your power.
Yeah, I think just to throw one in again, it's like baby steps. If a baby doesn't take the first step, the baby's not going to walk, right? So it's just taking that first step and learning and failing as well, falling down. Probably he or she's going to hurt few bones and legs, hands and stuff, but eventually that baby's going to walk.
You have to crawl before you can walk as well. You just got to start.
Yeah. And going back to, starting a business, we want to think about, You know, like some people will say, oh, I want my logo to be perfect. You know, I want my business name to be the best. You know, I want to have the best equipment, you know. But for you starting out, you know, what would you say about just starting? Do you see it as you need to have everything in place? You know, because starting a business, you know, in the beginning, you might play many roles. Like you might be the
play all
content.
roles.
Yeah. You might be the content creator, the accountant, you know, the editing guy, everything, you know. But some guys will say, "Do you know what? I want to save a lot of money to hire those guys." You know, for you, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think a lot of my fundamental mistakes was not understanding who my audience is. So if we go back to things like logo, the first thing you do when you think of a business, you think, right, I'm going to get a logo, I'm going to get a website. This is how I want to represent myself. And I think what happens is we've got the end goal in mind so much that we're trying to create this business that looks like Coca-Cola from the very beginning. And we forget that even when it comes to branding, you know, even my son the other day, I had to explain to him, for those of you that live in England, Mr. Sainsbury's was a person, Mr. Tesco's was a person. These people's businesses were built on their ethoses. Your business is born out of you. So I think in the beginning, you need to scale it back. So you need to understand who is my audience, but you can't be all things to everyone. So even if you're trying to appeal to a mass market, like one of the mistakes a lot of entrepreneurs make is, oh, my marketplace is 1 million people. So even if I get 0.5% of that marketplace, imagine that I'll be an instant millionaire. The problem is you cannot get your brand to connect with so many different types of people. So one of the things that you need to do is think to yourself, what customer segment am I going to go after first? Make sure it's incredibly niche and tailor your brand around that. If you scale it back and you niche down, you will now be able to produce a brand, a website, a logo, and all the fundamentals that you need in the beginning at a much smaller scale yourself, of just being able to maybe freelance and use sites like Upworks and Fiverr for things. The minute you try to appeal to loads of different customer segments, they're hanging out on different channels, you now just 10x your workload and you're one person. So in the beginning, you really need to learn to scale back, which actually as an entrepreneur is really, really difficult to do, because it's within our blood to want to start 10 businesses at the same time.
Yeah, you're gonna get your hands on so many things, man. Which in turn, I think that won't work, you know, because I think you just have to just start little, you know, and you build, you know, like Lego, like building a Lego, you know, you start from the base and build up, you know, and you know, you just mentioned something about, you know, branding and, you know, personal branding and all that. You know, for you, which comes first, you know, personal branding or business branding?
It has to be personal branding. Your business is like a child, it's born out of you. You know, someone once asked me, one of my coaches, what makes you fascinating? And if you ever gone to answer a question, then you pause because you think, okay, that's actually quite a big question. Maybe I'm not going to answer that straight away and just jump in like that. And, you know, your brand story and your why, people buy people. If people don't know, people haven't got a clue what your business is. And how many times do you ask someone, what's in your business? And they're still talking 5 minutes later and you lost them. People need to understand you and your why, and that's what they remember, and that's how you're going to grow. Your business brand will come as your personal brand grows. When we think about people like Gordon Ramsay, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, Richard Branson, these are great examples of how they grew their personal brand first, and then their business brand came, and then almost became two separate entities, just like a mother and a child.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a very good one. You know, I think, yeah, you're right. You know, the personal brand comes, you know, and the business brand comes. But I think when you like for instance, you just mentioned some few names, and like looking at Apple, you know, when you look at Apple as a product, the first thing you think about is Steve Jobs. Like even though he's no more, you know, he's no more with us, you still see his face.
We see his face for our age, just to let you know. If I got my children in the room, they might say differently.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You know.
Sorry, my age keeps coming up a lot lately, just to let you know. Oh, I've been saying some things, and my audience, or a younger audience, they're like, who? What? But yeah, you're right. No, but I get the point you're making. Even yeah, you do. You think of Steve Jobs, Virgin. You think of Richard Branson, but Steve Jobs is actually a beautiful example because his personal brand is still that strong that we will associate him with Apple, just like you associate Richard Branson with Virgin. He doesn't even own half the subsidiaries anymore. Yeah. So they are perfect examples. These guys understood about PR. Steve Jobs and Richard Branson particularly understood about the power of their own brand story and how it would make their brand different. Steve Jobs understood that he wasn't trying to be Microsoft, and actually Apple was for the creatives. It was for people that were edgy and for people that were different. Is someone of who was, is it generation, I always get confused,
Gen Z.
That's it, Gen Z, that's it. Someone from Generation Z, Gen Z wouldn't maybe have the same thought as Apple as we did because they don't understand the brand story of Steve Jobs. But personal branding has to come first. It has to. People want to know your why. That's why we've seen some bigger brands, recent brands come out that have gotten taken over, like the innocent drink, the fact that it's natural juice in a box. It came out of the fact that it was a family, the same as Ella's Kitchen. The fact that people wanted something healthy in a packet. Does that make any sense? It came from a story of why they created it, and that's how that brand blew up. That's what makes a brand big. It's a brand story being attached to it. And Steve Jobs and people like Richard Branson did brilliant jobs of that, but it came from a personal brand. It came from them.
Yeah, Natalia, absolutely, man, 100, man. There's got to be a story there because I think when it's a story, it's easier to have people to buy in.
Yeah.
People
want to be able to relate to it. And brand stories are like Hollywood blockbusters. Every great Hollywood movie, will introduce its characters. It will introduce the adversity and the conflict. And then the end will be how that conflict and adversity was overcome. The beginning, the middle, and the end. And when you talk in a story format, people can connect to that, and that connection is why people buy from you. So when people on the internet keep talking about, I'll teach you the secret of selling online and getting customers, it does wind me up, just to let you know. The biggest secret to successfully selling digitally is to figure out how to make intimate connections with your audience through hardware, through a laptop, through a tablet, through a phone. It's about building relationships and building sincere relationships. So actually your brand story is the start of that. It's the start of someone connecting with you and them deciding whether they're going to buy from you or not. They're in the thinking process. Your job for the rest of the marketing campaign is to convince them to buy from you and to keep buying from you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That's the only secret there is.
Yeah. Building relationships and also being relatable as well is key.
Yeah. So I often compare it to the analogy I use is meeting someone. So, you're in Starbucks every day, you're on the platform waiting for your train, your eyes meet, you think, oh, was there something there? Was there not? You see them again the next day, you exchange telephone numbers. That exchange of telephone number is no different to you signing up to someone's lead magnet and giving your email, your telephone number. After that, you might exchange on WhatsApp, text, you might have telephone conversations, then you go for a date, then you might move in. You have to nurture your customers. You can't be wham, bam, thank you, man. It's like the laws of intimacy. You need to respect your potential customers and build relationships and build sincere relationships. And even when you get married and they buy from you, you have to have date night. You have to keep the relationship alive.
Absolutely, Natalia. You've done a lot, you've come a long way as well, and I know that, doing all that, putting yourself out there, trying to just, build that relationship, like you said, like you just said now, there must be things that would happen along the line, for you, what's the most difficult thing, starting all those businesses and, your failures as well, success as well. What was that thing that was going through your mind? That, if I probably knew I would have done this way or done this that way, what was most difficult for you?
I think the most difficult thing for me, it's a really good question. It's a very interesting question. I try to answer my questions honestly. I think I was the biggest obstacle to get over. I was trying to explain this the other day to someone. See, the ego is a very strange thing. The ego is a bit like the devil. It will hold you back. So the ego will tell you that it's not your fault. The ego will tell you to, you know, just listen to this person or follow the steps and you'll be able to make it. So sometimes I think us ourselves can be our own worst enemy. And I think I definitely was my own worst enemy. And I spent a long time looking for answers within people, within communities, within programs. I spent a phenomenal amount of money going on programs and emulating, thinking, well, I'm going to be just like that person. I'm going to follow those steps. And there's a lot of people that will take your money. The fact remains that, you know what, we've all got our own journey, we've all got our own why, and nobody can tell you what to do or how to do it. You are going to have to put your big girl pants on or your big boy boxer shorts on, and you are going to have to figure it out for yourself. But and that's why for me, in my own community, it's really important that I build out frameworks that people can follow. You have to really understand your why and understand what your goals are. And I think for me, the minute I was clear on what my goals are and I was comfortable in asking for it and going for it, so some of it is to do with mindset, I just started to think a lot more strategically and creatively. But I still think that that came from making a number of mistakes. So if I could go back and say, what would I do differently? There's nothing I would do differently because I don't believe in that. But I would have believed in myself more, that I had the ability to do this and I don't have to follow someone that appears or deems to be more successful and try and follow their journey. I just needed to write my own story.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing an amazing job, man. And I love your journey and your story so far, you know. And now going to, you know, you're the founder of Women in Digital Business, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
You know,
yeah.
And I know you said that a couple of minutes ago, why you go into that, but what was the main thing behind that? You know, like the main thing, the strategy behind it, you know, how you wanted to work with this women and, you know, and the fact that, you know, your interest was to empower women, you know, what was that drive behind the whole thing?
I'm just going to keep it real with you. This world's gotten really politically correct for me lately, with all these correct labels saying things the right way, and this whole diversity issue. For me, the whole underrepresented women, it was important to me. I don't feel like we have representation. So particularly within underrepresented groups, women of colour are setting up businesses, and especially in the tech and the digital space, at the fastest rate than any other group. We hit ceiling heights because we don't have any support. We don't get any funding. The average even capital venturist, even on the private sector, for every pound they donate, 13 pence will go to women. And then once you throw colour into that, there isn't even a number, just to let you know. It can fall below 1 cent. So to know that we're a group that's excelling the way that we are, and there isn't that support, and I feel like, especially women of colour, we've been excelling for a long time. Many of us have been sitting behind our husbands, sitting behind CEOs of organisations, running our own businesses, building them up from grassroots with no help. And I just felt like the way that I was going into different communities and listening to people that I see on social media, I see in the media, but I don't see a reflection of myself, and I'm trying to emulate them, get mentored by them, but they cannot understand me because you cannot walk through my shoes and feel what I feel. You just can't, not as a Black woman. So I think that's where my passion came from. And just the amount of money that I spent on being in communities and programs, that when I look back now, what I was taught didn't even scratch the surface. Trying to teach me my brand story, what my goal should be, you know, how to get high ticket clients, that wasn't the answer. So I just spent a lot of money for information that, yes, it did help me, but the value of it just wasn't there. So for me, the community was about being able to relate to my audience and them to have a place where, you know, their blueprint is different to mainstream audiences, so they could come and have that relationship and that connection with me and the other women in the community. Also, many of us that come from underrepresented backgrounds, are target audience also as well do. You know, big organizations have now recognized that their marketing departments don't reflect their customers. So again, you're going into communities and being taught how to get customers when the very people teaching you don't even understand your customer because there is a cultural difference.
Yeah.
So there's many reasons. And the second one that's really big for me is that I wanted women to come somewhere where actually they get depth. So when you join my community, this is not just about branding. It's not just about understanding who your audience is. We really help you to build out a strategic growth plan. We teach you, if you're going to use social media, this is the best way to go about it. We teach you how to set up Facebook pixels, how to do Facebook advertising, hashtags, how to build out a sales funnel, the real strategy. We'll teach you the psychology and the soft skills, but we'll also teach you the tech and the automation that sits behind that as well. So a lot of these programs don't offer you that depth. It's what I would call fur coat, no knickers. If anybody's my age group's ever heard of that expression before. So it was just important to me to be able to build a community where I can rise women up like myself, and they don't have to make some of the horrible mistakes I've had to make. You are going to make mistakes. I'm not going to apologize about that. But if I can minimize your mistakes, think about us who are businessmen and businesswomen. Our children are going to gain so much benefit from that. Think about if our parents had taught us just some of the basic fundamentals that we now know that we teach our children. So it's just about passing the knowledge on without ripping people off. Yeah, I said it.
Absolutely, Natalia, man. You're doing an amazing job, and you're also, trying to help these women as well, advocate for them as well, But in terms of, funding and helping women of color, like we're saying a few minutes ago, what do you think, big organizations out there could do or can do? Is there more to it?
There's a lot more. And for me, I've just decided that, you know what, I can't control what larger companies or people do. I can only do what I can do. So for me, I decided to run diversity training with organizations, and the money I make from that, I actually give back to my mastermind group to help fund their businesses to scale. As we're growing as a business, a certain percentage of the profits are now going back into a pot next year. Well, that money will be given to women that have proven they've got viable businesses to help them to be able to advertise and scale. So I've kind of realized I've tried to do a lot of work, and it's just a lot of energy for not getting much back out. So you know what? My dad always taught me those who know better should do better. So I can't speak for people anymore or say that they've got requirements because they've built wealth. What I want to do is try and build my own wealth so I can give back how I feel the community deserves.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're doing, and I know the last time we spoke before the show, I think we were talking about women really stand up for women, or is it just like a mask thing, because I know there's a big saying out there. They say, oh, women for women, girls for girls, supporting women businesses and things like that. There's all that out there, which I totally support as well, because I mean, that of free girls, obviously I know that, the reward out there, it's not going to be so easy for girls right now. And I know that there's a lot that needs to be done, but for you, that saying women supporting women and all that, is there something else we're not saying?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like as I've grown up, I'm 43 years of age, and I do feel like as I've grown, I've seen women and sisterhood come together more. I also feel at the same time, though, that it was always there, but it's never been put in the forefront of the media. I feel like those who like to portray women and women of color, it suits them to put out there. Does that make any sense? That, we don't support one another or the support's not there. For me, again, I don't know if you're starting to get a tone from me. I can only be me, and I say it as it is. I just feel like when it comes to women and women, I feel like when it comes to our culture, I feel like they report, and when I say they, I mean the media, let's be clear about that. They report and they show images of what they want to see, or they want people to see of us. I don't believe that is the case. You're always going to have a case where you're going to have jealousy. It's not a nice emotion. It exists in all communities, not just between women, if that makes any sense. So for me, I just feel like I have watched my whole life things that are orchestrated in the mainstream to make women of color, people of color look a certain way. I find that I can be in a room, and if I'm confident and, I speak very strong and I stand up for myself, all of a sudden I'm a bully. I'm sure many women listening to this could relate to what I'm saying. All of a sudden it's just like, you're aggressive because you're confident. If I start crying, then what are you going to say in the boardroom as a woman? So you're damned if you do, damned if you can't, if that makes any sense. And I think where there was so little of us maybe working our way up the career ladder, it caused a lot of competition. But as you're seeing more and more women start their own business now, you are seeing sisterhood come together. You are seeing so many women who influence. If you just go onto Instagram and Facebook, the amount of groups that there now are of women supporting women, now that we are running our own business, it's phenomenal. Funny that when we was in the corporate world and there was little of us, there was more bickering going on. Why was that? What environment was we in? Because we certainly weren't the majority.
Yeah, and again, once you're in the corporate world, there's that micromanaging and control as well. Yeah. But once you're doing your own thing, you put out your content the way you want to put out your content. No one can really manage you. So you do things on your own call. But working with women is great. But if a woman comes to you and says, Natalia, I need help. I want to start my own business. And I have certain ideas. What is your first approach in terms of assessments and strategy? What do you do differently, that others won't do?
Like for instance, someone came to me and there's like, I want to start my own business. I'm not sure. All I can do is try and support. What I mean by that is that you do need to know what you want to do. You need to be clear on your goals and you need to be clear on where you want to go, and then we can help you. So I'm not in the business of trying to sell someone's a false paradise. Does that make any sense? It's like, come and join my community. We can give you everything you need. You're going to be a millionaire in 12 months. If I can see that you're not ready and you telling me you're at ideology stage, I know that already you've just communicated to me you're not ready. We'll support you as much as we can with free resources, events that we do, books that I've read that's resonated with me, other communities that can really help you, a coach that can maybe guide you. But for that stage of where you're at, this community probably isn't for you. Because remember what I said to you, once you get into the membership site, the playbooks and training that we've got in there, they're serious. This is like, you've got your business model and you need to find customers online. You're now looking at, how am I going to segment my audience? You're now, learning about social media. You have to have got that business established. It doesn't need to be making anything. It doesn't need to be viable, but you need to be taking it seriously. And that's not to discredit anyone. Does that make any sense? But I'm just not into selling pipe dreams. The amount of communities that I went into that they weren't for me. And rather than the founder and the creator saying that, you just got led on, pay your money here, do this, we're getting to where you need to be, when it just wasn't my time being ready for that. So for me, the question you're asking me is that I'm just always going to be honest. I'm not going to sell you a dream of saying we're going to get you to where you need to be. Even if when I have people say to me, I've got a sideline hustle, what you've done is amazing. Got a lot of respect for you because you've got your main job, but you're consistent and you're putting your energy in all your spare time. The minute I've heard I've had a sideline hustle and I've started it, but then I fell out of it and I've been in that same cycle for the last 6-7 years. And again, please don't get angry with me, anyone listening to this. I'm just being honest with you. I know that this community is not necessarily for you. You need help first and foremost of, being clear on your goals and your mindset and having consistency. It's really funny. I had date night on Saturday and my husband was saying to me, you have to be able to keep a promise to yourself. If you can't commit to keeping a promise to yourself, how can you commit to anything else in life?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking to you, I already sense that failure is not an option for you.
I don't know if it's not an option. I think it's always an option for me. I think as I've grown older, I'm just not frightened of it anymore. I understand that failing is just the making of me. I love reading biographies and watching biographies. Even on Saturday date night, I went to see Aretha, Respect. Absolutely loved it. It was just mistake after mistake after mistake that just brought greatness after greatness after greatness. I just think that you just need to get over failing, because failing is essential in life to get ahead. So I'm just not frightened to fail. If you get knocked down, you're just going to have to brush yourself off and get back up again. And for anybody listening, trust me, there were times when I got back up and it felt like someone was just knocking me down. I got back up and they knocked me down straight away. There were times that I didn't even get back up to stand back up and it felt like I was knocked back down again.
Oh my God, I know you. But the women you work with, like in terms of motivating them, trying to inspire them as well, and they say, "Oh, Natalia, I can't go on anymore. I just want to quit. I can't do this anymore." What do you say to those set of people?
What does life look like if you don't succeed? Is that the life that you want to live? Are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, and you know you've been pushed to your limit, and you know what, this isn't for me, well, then that's fine. And I've been here before. I'm talking from experience. There was a time about 7 years ago, and I said to my husband, you know what, I'm okay with it this time. I'm going to be honest with you. If I get to October and something hasn't happened, I just realized that I'm meant to be a housewife, look after the kids. And you know what? Maybe they'll live my dream. Maybe it's I'm here to have this desire, and it'll be my children that do it. It's not for me. This is real talk. I'd had enough, and I did this talk before, but I'd be doing it with the tears. Oh, I'd be doing it with a glass of wine. But this time I was calm as it was just like, I'm done. It was like a drop the mic moment. And I think this was like about the beginning of September. October, I got a contract to do digital marketing training and consultancy with the London Borough. Within the January, I then got asked to start speaking and doing Google Digital Garage, and it just snowballed from then. Some of you might be, I don't really have a religion. I believe in God. And there's an expression in the Bible, and God won't give you no more than you can bear. So if someone came to me and said that, if you're ready to just stop and you're at peace with it, maybe it's just your time not to do it. But if you're feeling like you're saying this, but you're frustrated, and deep down you know that you want to push forward and succeed, but you're just tired, take a breath and get up.
So what motivates you to do more?
What motivates me to do more? Oh, I'm driven by success massively. I'm not driven by money. Money's a commodity. It's a piece of paper. The West has really taken things like gold, diamonds. Remember, we used to trade with things like salt. We used to trade with silver. We used to trade with gold. We won't mention what part of mankind it was, but they decided to create paper. And they decided to make the richest countries in the world poor because they decided to trade with a piece of paper that isn't worth absolutely anything. So I'm not motivated by money. So what keeps me going is being motivated by success and having a legacy, generational wealth, my family, and my community. I feel like our people and anybody whose generations have been involved in the transatlantic slave trade just deserve it. And I think behind it all, even when you think about my first business, that's what actually drives me.
So what is success to you?
Success to me is when I'm on my deathbed, I know that I'll be remembered for what I did, not for any possessions that I have. I'll be leaving a legacy. That's success for me.
Yeah, it's funny when you say that. I interviewed a guest a couple of months back, and I asked him about, what is your legacy? You know, what was legacy to you? And he told me a story about, when he dies, and people are in his funeral. He wants to go into the funeral, and he wants to listen to what people have to say about him. Listen to the body movement, the communication. If they're going to say good things about him,
Yeah, that's a lot of self-gratification.
Like
I get it.
Yeah. He just said it in a way that, I want to just go into that room and just sit down and listen to what people have to say about me, and hopefully, there are things that I've done in terms of helping people.
That's not what legacy means to me, by the way, at all. Legacy for me, so Harriet Tubman left a legacy for me. At 14, I knew that I wanted to be someone successful, and it came from reading that biography. I thought, if this little woman can go through so much mental and physical abuse and still be able to rescue so many people and stand up for so many people, surely in this day and age that I live in, I can do whatever I want and succeed if I put my mind to it. That's a legacy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I like that.
The older I get, I care less what people think if they don't. So whether you've got nice things to say about me or not at my funeral, by that time, hopefully I'm with the creator.
I think his whole idea of saying nice things about him, he was just saying in the part of, helping people and trying to make people's life better. Hopefully that would make people say nice things about him.
I get it, and that is nice. It's funny. My first time I've said it out loud, by the way, on anything that's gone out live. My dad recently passed away, And my dad taught me so many things about having a clean heart and being the type of person with principles. And that really comes from my dad. And I've grown up with my dad always teaching me, if you do something from the goodness of your heart and what it does for someone. Even if they wanted to trace you off, as you would say in the West Indies, or not say something nice about it, if you do something with a clean heart and for a good reason, not for what you're either going to get back in return or what people are going to say. When you think about some of the greatest leaders in the world, even down to Jesus, whether you believe he was God's son or a prophet like the Muslims, it doesn't matter. It was someone that existed. The example of how to live was to treat people equally and fairly, irrespectively of how they treated you. And I think it's just something that's been ingrained to me, that if you're going to do something, you just do it with a really good heart. It's not about what you get back in return. And I just feel like that's what legacy is. It's when you have got the ability to put others before yourself for a greater reason. It's not just about being Mother Teresa. I'm not saying I'm going to lie down and have everyone walk all over me, because I'm definitely no walkover. But
I think for me, it's about, that empathy, that love, trying to just make the other person feel good, helping helping the next guy cross to the other side of the road, which is great. And again, like literally driving and letting someone pass in front of you, because me and you know that. I don't know how much you drive, or driving in this country, people are always rushing. So there are times I'll just stop and say go, and they were like, "Oh, really? Should I go?" I said, "Yeah, go." They were like because it's something that people don't really do much. I think just having that.
I totally agree with you. It's just the simple things sometimes. It's not the big things. It's the simple things.
Yeah. It is. It is. I know you're big with women, helping women and making them great, their purpose and their why as well, Do you also help men as well?
Yes, in the past I've worked with men, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's not really my favorite group. I think it's I don't whoever listens to the show, it's really hard. I think I've had to learn as I've gotten older, there is actually a pecking order in life. And actually, I find that many African women understand this really, really well, if that makes any sense. When I say there's a pecking order, even if you look to biblical times, you've got God, you've got man, and you've got woman. And when you're a woman in business, it is really, really difficult. It's no different from, being in my household. I've got 2 boys, I've got a girl, I've got my husband, and you're having to wear the different hats. Does that make sense? Of being in all these different environments, from going to be a leader, then going back to being a wife, giving my husband the breath to be able to be a man. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. And I think in the world of business, men and women are very different in that sense. And I feel that a lot of men need male leadership. It's just one of the laws of life. Like, we've got a food chain, haven't we? And we've seen what's happened now that man's messed with the food chain. There are some serious conflicts with the food chain and what's happening. It's changed the world, and that's because we've tampered with it. And I think in terms of us being human, you have to understand that there is a food chain. So I think with men, and especially men of color and underrepresented men, they need more of a male guidance. Does that make any sense? Sometimes I've seen the struggle and battle, and not just with gender as well, it can even be with age sometimes. Being younger maybe, and you're speaking to someone elder and you're trying to get a point across about digital strategies, and then I start speaking French, you start speaking Japanese. Before you know it, we're miscommunicating. I think it goes back to what I was explaining about target audiences and being able to connect with your audience. I can connect with my audience in terms of being a mum, in terms of being a wife. We get to sit down and talk about what it's like to be the head of a boardroom, and then go back home and having to step down from that leadership role. It's just the things that you have in common. So it's not that I don't work with men, but there's something about women and sisterhood that is just magic when you come together. It's just simply magic. Think about it when we look at developing countries, you'd have a village that would bring up a child. Women would come together, they would wash clothes together, hang them out, they would cook together and make one pot of food for the whole village. It's naturally within us to be natural born leaders and nurturers. So it just feels more natural for me. I don't have to have any filter.
Well, I think in terms of, business and entrepreneurship, I think in terms of that, like you said, the women, they are great leaders, and I think if you have a system whereby the women will try to pass that to their kids. Like now you're an entrepreneur, your kids are seeing you saying, mommy is doing this, I want to do that as well, but I think way back, it was always the case of the man is always the head of the house, the breadwinner, he goes to work, or daddy has a business, but it was never a case of mommy having a business.
You see, this is what's interesting because it's really funny. So I was reading a Forbes article, actually, I think it was yesterday morning, and I thought it was really interesting. It was talking about Nigerian women, and it was saying that 40% of Nigerians' population of women actually run their own business. And it's just something that's becoming more popular in recent years. But dating back to like the 70s and 80s, actually, it was just saying that Nigerian women actually, have been really heavily involved in their husbands' businesses. We're talking about like top oil companies, property development companies that are turning over tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars a year. So, let's just look at even Obama. And we look at people like Michelle. I think women have always played a very, very big role in businesses and entrepreneurialism. We just haven't been at the forefront of it. It's that expression, behind every great man
there's a woman.
Is a great, right? Exactly. So I think we've been playing this role for decades, but we just, haven't really been recognized for it. And what's happening now is, with the way how things are changing socially, if that makes any sense, that the world is now changing and evolving. And there's a lot of groups that are popping up now. Does that make any sense? Not to change the subject or get into it, but I was trying to explain to one of my friends from the LGBT community that was trying to make a comparison between people of colour and their community. I was just simply pointing out, and don't anybody hate me and turn me into a Dave Chappelle, but I was just trying to explain to them that this fight and struggle that we've been fighting on has been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's a long time. So I just feel like I'm using that example because women have been backing their husbands and been doing great things in business for absolute centuries, from the running of the farm days and farming land.
You're doing an amazing job. Love what you're doing. It's been a great show so far, and you've dropped a lot of, helpful tips, strategies as well that will help people, even help me as well, But in terms of, like someone comes to you and say, starting from scratch, how do I start from scratch? Based on your own experience, what would you tell that person?
That's a really good question, by the way. Really good question. What would I tell someone starting from scratch? Okay, so you do have to find something you're passionate about, because you're going to have a lot of grit, tenacity, and desire to start this journey. So you're going to have to find your desire. And you would have read this or heard this before about doing something that you love. But once you've decided that, you're going to have to get really strategic. You need to figure out who would be the first segment of audience that would buy from me. What are my profit margins going to be? And how much money do I need to make to get to my survival budget? And you just need to do that and nothing else first. It goes back to exactly what you were saying in the beginning, little by little.
Yes.
Don't take that. You can have an end goal, but try not to write the plan for that end goal in the beginning, because you're going to try to start building the end goal out. And that's when you're going to take on something too big and lose motivation. You just want to start setting like one thing. You just want to pick one social media channel. You just want to pick one part of your segment and build it around that. Have a goal for monetization and achieve that first, and then keep building up from there, rather than trying to do everything at once.
Yeah. And again, I get asked these questions all the time, like playing, like I think we spoke about it earlier on, playing different roles. Start in the beginning, we play, like now, I always use myself as an example, I play different roles. I do the recording, I do the editing, I do the social media, I do everything, right? And people are scared of this because they're saying now, I don't know how to record myself. I don't know how to edit, I don't know how to do anything, because someone that has the passion for business, you have your passion, you want to do these things, but there's still that bit of, how do I get by starting in terms of little beginnings and doing stuff myself, because people just get stuck on those things. I don't know if you've come across certain people that just get stuck and say, I can't do this. How do I go past this stage?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. And if you want me to be honest with you, it's one of the reasons why my community is for underrepresented women. Because you see, many people from underrepresented groups understand going through adversity. So when you don't have the budget for all of that, you're going to have to find a way.
There's always a way.
Some people, that is an alien language. Does that make any sense? And, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. So when my mum and dad didn't have enough money to feed us, they found a way. I turned out to be perfectly fine, probably overweight. But I'm just saying, you find a way. Needs must means in us. And that's where you're going to have to dig deep and you're going to have to prioritize. And that's why I'm saying, don't start off too big. When you're in that position, and let's face it, who knows it feels it. Another thing my dad's taught me. So what you're saying to me is not something that I'm speaking on and I haven't got a clue. I know what it feels like to have no money and a dream. I know what that feels like. Even my cleaning business, that was my dad giving me £300 and my now husband giving me £300. And on my life, I started my cleaning business on £600. Wow. I was literally, but that model was, okay, I'm going to put an ad in the yellow pages. That's no different to going on Google Ads now. I'm going to get a telephone number. I'm going to build up a website. That's no different to going on to Wix or GoDaddy. The phone rings, I pick it up. I'm going out to clean. I'm doing it all. And it was funny, when the cleaning business is a beautiful example of what I'm speaking about. The amount of cleaning business owners that I would meet, and a lot of them would be men, sorry to say. A lot of facility managers and cleaning business owners are men. The thought of cleaning is beneath them. It's not for them. And I've met women like that as well, that, they don't have to go and clean. And it's funny, that was my success in the cleaning business, because I became really good at quoting. Why? Because I knew how long things took, because I had to clean. So as the business grew, I knew. So there is no escaping. I'm so sorry. I've got no secret formula for you. There is no escaping having 3 to 4 hours sleep a night till you're burnt out and then you crash and then you've got to go and do it again. There's no getting around having to learn to do things yourself, doing things that you don't like. It's just life when you want to succeed. I'm not going to paint a pretty picture. I'm so sorry. When you've got no money and you've got a dream, you are going to have to put your back into it, and you are going to have to go above and aboard. And even if you want to look at some of the greatest people in the world, let's look at artists, Michael Jackson, Beyonce. These are all people that did not grow up in poor backgrounds. If you read their biographies and follow their stories, they work their arse off to be the best at what they are. There's no getting around that. Go home if you don't want to do that.
Go home, Natalia.
Go home. But you might be someone that's got funding, has got access to something, and that isn't your story. I'm not saying that's everyone's story, but I'm just merely pointing out, I know what the question you asked. I know. Who feels it knows it.
I'm telling you, 100, man, 100. Love that. You're quite busy, busy with your business, with family as well, your coaching business as well. Everything, you're busy, But when it comes to, people often say work-life balance, how do you balance that?
Oh, you don't. I've heard the expression myself. Can't say that I live it, but. Family is really important to me, and I think having children has taught me about balance. I mean, I'm working very much on self-love at the moment and having a little bit more time for me, but my work-life balance is probably bringing the family together. I'm that person that will, like, we have an annual barbecue. I like bringing people together. I like having my home and my house full of laughter and love. And for me, that's what makes the hard work worthwhile. When you look round and you're having a function and you can see everyone eating, laughing, you can hear the music, you're embracing your culture. So that's my work-life balance, is bringing everyone together, believe it or not. I am trying to work a lot harder on having time to myself, but it doesn't work like that. As you grow and you become more successful, I've got a team now. So it's different, but at the same time, I spend a lot of times in meetings now. I spend a lot of times doing leadership. So that work-life balance is important. But I think within my team, we've got our own we are like family. So I also get my work-life balance. All the things I'm talking to you about, I ingrain with my staff, my team. So I'll have days where it'd be like, right, we're taking a few days off next week. Everybody needs to take a break and a rest. There'll be weeks where we all go at it and we're working completely round the clock. So I just do what I can when I can. So I haven't got the perfect answer for that one. I'm still trying to figure that one out myself.
So moving forward, going forward, what's the next thing for you?
Next thing for me is to really conquer the African market, actually, place. People keep telling me that
that's the place. That's the place to be, right now.
People keep telling me, and they actually, I'm not even going to go there. I'm sure the people were telling me that there's no affordability in Africa. People cannot afford your services. I don't believe it. And even now, we are running Facebook ad campaigns, and the leads that we're getting in from Africa, especially Nigeria, are crazy.
I was going to say that.
They're crazy. We literally, in the UK, just to give you an example, we would spend about £30 just to get one lead, and I kid you not. In Africa, we are spending between £1.90 and £2.50 per lead. And the quality of the candidates and the worksheets that they're filling out on the lessons that we're teaching are far more above what you would get coming from the UK. Yeah, I said it. I'm sorry. So we really are going after the African market. And, 2023, I would love to have a huge convention, digital marketing festival for underrepresented women that women can come to. And Africa, they are in the fashion industry, materials, textiles. There's a company that I even work with that's a part of our mastermind. Imagine that. They farm shea butter and products from their family farm in Ghana. They import it to the UK and they make a whole range of natural products, and their business is going to strength, and they're able to give back to their own community in Ghana. There's a lot of natural resources. We just look at the beauty market: coconut oil, shea butter, jojoba oil. I'm from the Caribbean. There's so much natural resources that these countries have got that are being sold at such a high price in the UK, and the digital world is the way to tap into that and really sell those products at mass. So our next step is our membership site to become a really well-renowned training site for women to build their own business, but in Africa.
Yeah. I can tell you for free that once you start that, you're going to need all the energy, because that market is huge, it's big, man. And there's a lot going on out there that no one has not really realized what's going on out there. Because I'm from Nigeria, and I know that once people buy into you, like what we're talking about relationship and, being relatable as well, once they key into you, they like you, they know that you're genuine, they will just go all out for you.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I need to do my DNA. I'm convinced that my ancestry must have come from Nigeria, just to let you know. I'm just loving Nigerian women. I've got such a big, massive respect for them. West Africa in general, but Nigerian women just seem to they can juggle like 50 balls at the same time and keep their eyes on all of them. Very well educated, got children running the house, got a business. So I'm resonating with them a lot because that's my life as well. But it's not just to call Nigeria out. South Africa has got a big following, loads of successful women. That community seems to be taken to me really well. And you're right, people buy people. And it's about making connections with people. So watch this space. But I'm really curious about Nigeria, really curious. I actually just want to get on a plane. My husband recently went to Ghana because his granddad's from Ghana and he was out there last year.
Okay.
And every time I keep saying to him, let's go. It's really funny. What is it about Ghanaians and Nigerians, by the way?
Jollof rice.
Is that what it is? Because
there's this jollof rice war that, that goes on the Ghanaian says they do better jollof rice. Nigerian says we do better jollof rice. So it's all about the jollof rice for us. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Ghanaians why do you want to go to Nigeria? I'm just really curious. But I've been blessed with going to South Africa, but that wasn't really Africa. To be fair. Sorry, it wasn't. It was a version of Europe. I'm looking forward to conquering that marketplace. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely, Natalia. So to draw this to an end, what will be the last thing you want to say to someone that listen to this? Women as well, men, listen to this and said, I listened to this show and Natalia said this, and this will stick with me for a long time, what would that thing be?
There's two things I want to say. I think the first thing I want to say is, you know what, believe in yourself and your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. Nobody has the right to tell anybody that they cannot do something. If you have a desire to do something, do it. And you're special. You're gonna get ahead. I think that's my first most important thing. My second thing is that the digital age is here. And just like when I explained to you, salt, we used to trade with salt, salt turned into gold and silver turned into paper. Papers are now about to turn into cryptocurrency. And we look at the world, we had an industrial revolution, we had an electrical revolution, we had, the Wall Street crash. We are in the digital age. And actually the digital age has lowered barriers. The world cannot cope financially with just 1% of it being rich. And I'm telling you, coming from 2003, what it took to set a business up that was viable then to what it is now, it's still a lot of hard work, but the entry barriers are lower. So if there was any time that you're going to get up and do something and also be able to connect with people internationally, the barriers are being lowered for you now. So like you said, just start. just simply start. Start somewhere.
I'm telling you, just start, man, or just do it like Nike.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it, man. It's been a wonderful show. I think we touched about every part. I don't think there's nothing left.
Honestly, I've been doing interviews all week. This has been my favorite. This has just felt like a really cool conversation with my brother or someone. Like seriously,
Thanks.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for that. And for those that want to get in touch with you, these days social media is big. People want to, get in touch with you one way or the other. Where is the best place to get in touch with you?
Best place is, please come into our Facebook group, Women in Digital Business. You just need to look the group up on Facebook, but you will find me on every platform under Women in Digital Business, my website, social media, and also under my name, Natalia Nicholson.
Absolutely.
Literally, if those are the two things that you just need to type in and you'll find me. But if you go to Women in Digital Business, my website, that will lead you to everywhere. But our Facebook group's a really thriving community. I do a lot of Facebook Lives, free resources and training in there. So if you do want help, you want to get ahead, come and join us in our Facebook group. Don't worry, there's no obligation in my group. There's no upselling. If you're ready to want help, you got it. And if you don't, you'll be able to have a community that you can be attached to and get some help.
And hopefully men are also welcome as well, right?
Not really, sods.
Oh my God.
But they might have a wife, a cousin, a friend, the community is definitely, it is women only. But let's just say you had a business partner and you were man and woman, of course you're welcoming, but we don't actually tell anybody you're not welcome, but the community is for women. It was a hard decision to make, but I just feel like that's the community that I can help the most and connect with more. So that's what I've gone with. Sorry. We're going to have to hang out on podcast. You're going to have to invite me back.
Do that. It's been a wonderful conversation, love every bit of it. You're an amazing guest as well, have that drive, have that push, and you dropped a lot of nuggets here, a lot of things to take away from this, and I'm really, really grateful that, you made that time, your busy schedule to come on the show,
Thank you. Appreciate it. I've had a blast. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Good.